Picture this, an entire magnificent metropolis just vanishing completely beneath the crashing waves of the ocean. Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are going on a seriously cinematic journey. We're bridging the gap between ancient, epic storytelling and cutting-edge modern archaeological discovery. We're looking at the legendary city of Dwarka, famously known as the Sea Crystal City. It's a tale that's captivated minds for centuries, sitting right smack at the intersection of mythology and history. Right off the bat, we really have to ask ourselves this core question. When you hear about an ancient metropolis being swallowed whole by the sea, you're probably thinking, come on, that's just a story, right? Just some fantastic fable meant to entertain people. But what if there's a shocking physical truth hiding behind this vanished city? What if these myths are actually memories? Well, to figure that out, we need to go back to the very beginning.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Part 1. A mystery hidden underwater.
To actually unravel a mystery that's hidden underwater, we first have to understand what was going on up on land, because the story doesn't begin in the ocean at all. It begins with conflict, leadership, and a really desperate need for survival. So back in ancient times, the revered figure Krishna lived in the city of Mathura, but life there was, well, it was far from peaceful. Krishna was dealing with immense, ongoing struggles just to protect his people. His biggest headache? A totally relentless enemy named Jarasandha. And Jarasandha didn't just attack once and give up. No, he launched repeated, grueling attacks on Mathura. The people were exhausted, the city was incredibly vulnerable, and Krishna was basically forced into a corner. A desperate relocation plan became the absolute only viable option. He had to make a really tough call to protect his citizens at all costs. The historical texts actually boil Krishna's crucial decision down to this exact sentiment. We must leave here. We must protect the people. Just think about the heavy weight of those words for a second. This wasn't about expanding an empire or going out to seek riches. It was a mass evacuation. Krishna made the definitive choice to completely abandon the familiarity of Mathura and build a brand new, highly defensible city right near the sea. And that brings us to part 2, the history of Dwarka's creation. So, Krishna calls upon the divine architect, Vishvakarma. And what rises from the waters is just a marvel of ancient engineering. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what they built. According to the texts, Dwarka was anything but ordinary. We are talking golden palaces, literally shining brightly under the sun. It boasted incredibly advanced urban planning, with long, perfectly straight, stretching roads. Plus, it was essentially a maritime fortress, heavily protected by the surrounding ocean waves, which made it practically impenetrable to enemies like Jarasandha. And inside those walls, the citizens lived in pure happiness. They experienced this prolonged period of unmatched peace and peak prosperity. It was the ultimate safe haven. But, all good things must eventually come to an end. Part 3. Nature's Wrath and Destruction. Dwarka grew into this massive empire, and life there reached the absolute pinnacle of serenity. Yet, a shadow eventually fell over the city. As Krishna approached his final moments on Earth, preparing to leave this world, the natural balance of Dwarka just began to unravel, and in a terrifying way. The sequence of events detailed in the texts is rapid and honestly chilling. First, right after Krishna passes away, the environment reacts. The sea, which is usually this crashing, dynamic force, goes eerily, unnervingly quiet. But that calm, complete deception. Suddenly, giant waves rise up with a deafening, loud roar. The ocean rushes violently toward the city. The texts describe terrified people running in a total panic as those magnificent golden palaces shake and those perfectly straight roads shatter entirely. In one swift, devastating motion, a massive wave crashes down and the entire city is swallowed whole. An entire empire just submerged in an instant. After that horrible day, a profound silence fell over the exact spot where Dwarka once stood. Years passed, then centuries passed, and as generations turned over, the memory of those golden palaces and roaring waves kind of just faded into mere folklore. People began to think it was just a myth, a beautifully tragic ancient story, but ultimately nothing more than fiction. And for a really, really long time, that is exactly where the story of Dwarka stayed. Which leads us to part 4, myth or historical truth. Let's look at the modern discoveries. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happened when modern marine archaeologists actually went down and explored the seabed in that region. They didn't just find empty sand. No way. They discovered distinct stone-made walls.
They mapped out structural formations that are undeniably human-made. I mean, these are absolutely not natural rock outcroppings. They even found distinct symbols and markers of an actual functioning ancient city just resting at the bottom of the sea. These shocking underwater findings point clearly to a real constructed settlement that somehow, some way, ended up totally submerged.
So, is this sunken settlement the actual legendary Dwarka? We have to look impartially at both sides of this debate here. On the one hand, a lot of folks maintain that the Golden City of Krishna is just an ancient story, a myth carrying heavy moral and spiritual weight rather than literal factual history. But on the other hand, others argue that we are looking at a hard historical truth, one that is now physically backed by underwater stone walls, human-made formations, and ancient symbols. Honestly, the question remains completely unanswered. We aren't taking a side here, we're just pointing out how the physical evidence has dramatically reignited a debate that's been dormant for centuries.
Ultimately, what you should really take away from all this is Dwarka's incredible legacy. It is a sleeping underwater city that still holds unknown world secrets. It serves as this incredibly powerful reminder that our world is still full of hidden mysteries just waiting to be fully brought to light. The investigation is totally ongoing, and until those ruins are completely mapped out and understood, the sunken city is going to remain one of history's most captivating enigmas.
And that brings us right back to the edge of the ocean, staring into the depths. We've got ancient texts describing a miraculous city and its terrifying watery demise. And we've got modern scientists pulling carved stones right off the seabed. So I'm going to leave this directly with you. What do you think? Is the sea crystal city of Dwarka a historical fact, or is it purely fiction? Keep exploring, keep questioning,